Welcome back to A Bit of Curiosity. I'm your host, Jeremy Howlett. Today I'm joined by Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes grew up on a cattle ranch in Pahranagat Valley, in Nevada. His upbringing was rooted in hard work, feeding cattle, moving sprinklers, and participating in annual cattle drives. Athletics also played a major role in shaping his character and discipline as a young man. He majored in biology with the intent of becoming a doctor. But during his sophomore year in college, he took an unexpected entrepreneurial leap and founded ProLook, which is a company he still owns and operates today, which does licensed apparel and all kinds of stuff we'll get into. But Dusty and his wife, Jane, have 4 children, 3 of whom work alongside them at ProLook, while their youngest, who is 18, is set to study fashion at college this fall. And then I have to add this little bit. Joe Morton is a great friend of both of ours, and I was texting him that Dusty was going to be on here. And so I have to quote Joe. Joe said, "By the way, you're in for a treat with Dusty. He's one of the most genuine people you'll ever meet. I think the world of him. He's an amazing mix of remarkable business sense, leader, putting family first, great shape, kind heart, and sincere. I feel so fortunate to be friends with him. We become the sum total of people we hang out with most. Lucky I am to get to hang out with him. Seriously, one of the greatest people I know." So I appreciate those words from Joe.
Yeah, gosh, that guy. Here's the thing, though. If you know Joe, which you do, Joe could not possibly say a bad thing about anybody he knows. He will find the best of whoever he's with. He could be with, the most evil individual possible, and he's still going to tell you how wonderful that dude does this and this and this, and that guy is salt of the earth, one of the greatest dudes I've ever known in my life.
Yep, absolutely. Sure. No, Joe's been on this podcast a couple of times.
Both had that benefit.
So yeah,
we both had that benefit of knowing him.
Yeah, he is a phenomenal individual. So you are absolutely correct. I've never heard anything bad about anybody. So
yeah, he is. He can't.
Yeah. Speaking of Joe, though, so you guys have like this little like tight knit surf group together. Tell us about that. Yeah. Like, I'm curious to hear all about it.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. I hesitate to say anything about it because inevitably I get texts like, "Hey, dude, would love to be in that surf group, or would love to be involved." Although I'd love to have as many people possible, it just, it doesn't work out that way. Like the dynamics would change drastically, and I like what it is right now, but no, it is what it does and what it serves to each of us is incredible. So in 2016, my wife and I were coming back from a birthday trip from Sayulita, and we were coming through LAX, Sayulita, Mexico, where we had surfed, and we were coming through LAX, and Ryan Napirsky, I don't know if you know him, another one of Joe's.
Yeah,
great dude, been a friend forever. In fact, you should probably have him on here as well. He's the CEO, president of Nu Skin. But he was coming through LAX at the exact same time. And, we stop, we eat, and he was asking what we're doing. I told him, he goes, "Oh, man, I would love to surf." And I said, "I realized it's a lot harder than it looked." That I assumed. I thought, I'm pretty athletic. I'll be able to pick it right up. And he goes, "Gosh, what we should do? We should get it. We should go down surfing together sometime." I said, "Yeah, we should do. We should actually get a group of guys together that we admire, respect, and can draw from, and go down together, and we surf. But then, in the meantime, after surf, before surf, we can just chat, just talk. What are you going through? What am I going through? Hey, do you have any answers for this or that?" Or, and I think it's really, man, it's been amazing. We're incredibly philosophical on these trips. I think it's more that than business. But there are opportunities to really throw out obstacles and challenges we're having in business. And you get answers from the best. I mean, these guys like Joe, right, who started Zango and built it up. I mean, that was a powerhouse in its day. And so, yeah, just really, really good group of guys. We had one of our friends, Mitch, Larson was in the group with us. He was an orthopedic surgeon, a part of buildings and stuff with, gosh, what's the group's name? Not Intermountain, but the other one. Anyway, but is kind of the alternative to Intermountain Health here in Utah. And he was such a lovable, amazing person. And he passed away last year. And so this year we got to take his ashes and spread them out, on his favorite beach This guy was like the last one out, really like just one of those guys that's just, the party, just hilarious, but at the same time, brilliant and passionate and just a really amazing individual. So yeah, that was an experience for us as well. So not only are we having, these great conversations and surf sessions and everything else, but we got to experience that this time. And this was 2 weeks ago, but yeah, gosh, an experience. It's been a good group to be part of. Like Joe said, surround yourself. I mean, I've done that. My mom, when I went to college, told me, find people that inspire and challenge you and hang out with those people. And I've tried to do that my entire life. Here at our company, surrounding myself with the best people I can imagine, people that nonstop challenge and push, so yeah.
Yeah. What great advice from your mom, right? Like that's, as you're going away, right? Like
Yeah.
there's
I
solid
mean, she was a
advice for sure.
rancher's wife and like solid through and through, one of those ladies you just don't mess with. I certainly saw the wrong end of a belt a few times. So, but on the other side, brilliant and really like one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my life too. So yeah, for sure.
No, I love how kind of organically that group came together, right? Like this, you knew Ryan, but you kind of, this happenstance meeting and it's like, hey, where were you? Right. Like, and being able to organize that. And I saw the video of you guys on your Instagram and on Joe's, right? Like when you guys were down in Mexico, scattering your friends out, like just how that group has become such a keystone to all of you guys over the last decade and what it's done for each of you and in your growth and your experience. So what are some of the best things? Like I love how most of your conversations probably don't hinge on business, but they hinge on philosophical conversations.
Yeah.
And I think that's so helpful in leading in business as well, right? Like
For sure.
I'm a humanities major, I'm a philosophy major, and so I have a soft spot in my heart for those deeper, more humanitarian conversations. And I do think that they lend there's a lot of value in business for sure. But so what are some of the best reasons that you've found or benefits that you've found from having this tight-knit group together?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I'm surrounded by leaders in the group, like you mentioned. And, to me, a leader, first and foremost, needs to be self-aware, understand their skill sets, who they are truly. You can't pretend, you get exposed pretty quickly if you're pretending. And these guys embody that, and then also being a good listener, being accountable, all that stuff. And so when these guys in this group, kind of embody all of that, it's nonstop conversation, giving time and positive feedback to different ideas and thoughts, nothing silly, nothing stupid. It's just, just listening because gosh, these guys are all smarter than I am. And so if I can get, anytime we can get, and Joe is so accomplished and so well read, and he's constantly like saying, I think the last conversation we had, so it was Ryan and I and Joe, and Ryan goes off on pain bodies and what pain bodies are. And for women, because we're always trying to understand, I think for me, it's lifelong study to try to understand how I can be a better husband, father, all of that good stuff and understand my children, especially the girls, my family. And his point was, I can't remember the writer, but talked about how these pain bodies are passed on from generation to generation. In other words, back when women couldn't vote, women, were disadvantaged in so many major ways above and beyond today. There's still disadvantages today, let's be clear, but above and beyond today.
Yeah.
And how that's passed on from generation to generation, through subtle teaching and the way a mother or father reacts to different things. And just, it's really interesting. Those kind of conversations they thrill me. Like I want to, how does that affect, the decisions we make and why do we do what we do? Like just all of those conversations are just so amazing to me. And I think our group's unique. There's different parts and pieces of our group. I'm not a really religious person. I think I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. So, and there are those that are both or, have their perspective of what they are. And it is what it is, but you get all the perspective and then you can just chew on it and dice it up a little bit and feed it back. And then what is, I don't know, I just love every part of that.
Yeah. So
That's the
good.
spice of life, really, bro.
No, absolutely. So you've got this group that you guys are kind of diehards, right? Like going out together, and that shaped you in business. What are some other things from your past, from, I guess, specifically growing up on a cattle ranch, right? Like, how have those things shaped the way that you see the world, the way that you perform as a leader?
Yeah. I mean, hard work, number one, right? It was no big thing that you got up at 5 a.m. to feed the cows in the winter. You go out, you buck hay, you put it on back of a trailer, and you roll it through 400 or 500 cows, and you cut the hay and you toss it off, and then you got to do that again that night. And there is no stop. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to do it every day, Monday through the next Sunday. So yeah, there's that side of it. Run up on a ranch. I mean, I had a stepfather that raised me. He was the rancher. My namesake father, Rhodes, died about 3 months before I was born. And my mother was left with 4 kids and one in the oven. And really tough scenario for her. She grew up on a ranch with that father's parents. So they had a potato farm in eastern Nevada, just under Mount Wheeler. And so she raised us there. Raised me until I was 2. And then that's when my stepfather came into the picture. Prenga Valley, and our ranch in Prenga Valley rested up against the test site and Area 51, like all this kind of government area. And because of the test site, everybody in our valley died of cancer, and his wife had passed from breast cancer. And so he'd come over, heard about my mom, and pretty funny story, actually. So his brother had told him, and he just shows up on the front step one day and says to my grandfather, he said, I came to buy some potatoes. And my grandfather looked at him and said, "You're not here to buy potatoes, are you?" And he goes, "No, sir, I'm not." And he goes, "I'll go get Connie." Connie is my mom's name. Yeah, just lessons, I think, from a rancher who had kind of done that his whole life as well. His father had ranched, his brother ranched. His brother just passed away actually last week, but at 91, which is a ripe age that's a ripe age for anybody, right? 91,
Oh, yeah.
but really hard workers. It was interesting in my scenario because I had hay fever so bad that I couldn't farm. So in the summertime, when everybody starts swathing, baling, hauling hay, if I went out there, my eyes would be like this. I couldn't do anything, or else I'd be doped up to the point where I'm not worth any, I'm not useful. So my dad, thinking, like he still needs to work, sent me to Las Vegas, and I worked in paving with my brother-in-law and my brother. So that was way harder than farm work. I mean, that was, in pavement, it's already 110, 115, and then the pavement, and it's hot, and it's coming up, and it's like 135, 140, and you're shoveling pavement, by the way, which is, heavier than anything you've ever experienced. It was really, really, really
Vegas
difficult
in the dead heat of the
I
summer.
got paid,
Yeah, that's crazy.
$5 an hour, so it made it worth it. So back then, I thought I was rich, $5 an hour, and yeah, and I got to experience Las Vegas, so that was good. Kind of gave me an outside perspective other than the little valley I'd grown up in, and that was fun. My sister lived down there, and I lived with her, and I think all of those things, any kind of something different than what you're used to is going to help you in life, right? And especially in business, as you run into characters and people from all over the world, and not only understand, but respecting, that they have their own path and their own history and story. And that way being able to, really create these lasting relationships. I mean, that's really what business is all about, are these relationships and helping each other, solving problems. If you solve enough problems, if you can do that well enough, if you can add value and solve problems, you're always going to be successful as a businessman. And so that's all. You with your shoes, right? Like stumbling around, you and Brian and your cousin, like trying to figure out that stuff. And luck, right? Dumb luck. Oh my gosh. Like for me, for example, in my business, for you stumble across you're doing what to shoes? How you doing that? How many are you selling? Right? Like, am I telling the story right?
Yeah,
I've heard the story a million times from different
absolutely.
people, from Brent Lloyd, from Sam, and I'm super interested because I love everything about what you did. And so, but going back to that, like just the blind luck of that, stumbling on it, which to me is, I don't know, I guess there's basically three things, three primary drivers of success. And the first to me is luck. I mean, if that lucky moment, that moment where you, whoa, and then after that is your strategy or your choices, I guess, your strategy. Like, oh, what am I going to do now? Am I going to take that step? Like you push to go, hey, let's create a shoe brand, right? Same. Like, so my best friend served a mission in Northern Philippines, came home with a pair of shorts, and they were Larry Johnson, grandmama from the New York Knicks. He played at UNLV. I was a huge UNLV fan growing up in Southern Nevada.
Sure.
National champs, 91, by the way. But it brought me home these pair of shorts, and it was when shorts were starting to get long for the first time, and these were long. So everybody just, wow, those are amazing shorts. Choices after the luck of him doing that, choices of going, gosh, everybody loves my shorts. Maybe I could build some shorts. And then I convinced him to take me back to the Philippines to meet the pattern maker, the manufacturer, the guy that did it. It was just one dude in a shop all by himself with no roof. And he and I started making shorts together. And so, yeah, I would say the second is that, right, is strategy. And then third is just actions or your habits. And then how you keep that, what you do every day. You set a list of questions. One of those is like, what do you do? Like getting in routines, making sure you stick to those. As long as they're successful routines, as long as you've reverse engineered from, what the goal is and come back to where you are and that's leading you toward that, then yeah, for me, that's 100%. Those three things drive everything for you. And I think you and I are living testaments of that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I'm a firm believer in luck, but I believe that luck doesn't matter anything unless you act on it. We are all lucky, right? Because the universe gives us something, right? Like there is abundance out there beyond what we can comprehend. And it's regularly giving it to us, right? You see these shorts, right? Like you could have just simply been like, okay, that's a cool pair of shorts, dude. Thanks for these. Like, then you're done, right? Like I could have walked into Golden's house, right? And been like, okay, this is a cool concept, dude. Sweet. Thanks. Maybe this will help my knee pain and I'll be good. But we both decided, no, like we got to act on this, right? And so your second point, right? The action, the strategy, right? Like without that, luck means nothing, right? The gifts of the universe, the gifts of our creator, whatever it is, right? Like these happenstance moments don't mean anything if we don't act on them. And
how lucky for them as well in your situation that you're talking about, right? That you came, because I think I'm sure they have thoughts of it as well, but you kind of push that whole agenda of let's start a shoe company. Why not? I feel like how many times have I missed out on a lucky opportunity, or you or others, right? Or
for sure.
I don't know. It's just crazy. But yeah, you're right. You have to act on that stuff. That's number 2. Strategy, plan, get in it.
Yeah. No, I love that 3-step, right? Like I think like as we look at those, and it goes back to what you said, right? Like a great leader is someone who is self-aware, and having that level of self-awareness in those moments of, okay, here's an opportunity. Here's the differentiator. Here's like, what can I do to take this and make it something, right? And there's a lot of things, right? Like I could have been like, oh, well, what a dumb idea to think that we could go make a shoe company because Saucony, Asics, Nike, Adidas, right? Like they're all doing it fine, right? Like they're all dominating the world, right? Like who's going to buy another shoe brand, right? Like, but the moment that we start thinking in a mindset of scarcity, we start closing ourselves off to those opportunities that could be, right? Like you're looking at, okay, I want to take and make a pattern of a pair of shorts and become an athletic apparel manufacturer when Reebok's already doing it. Nike's crushing it. Adidas is doing, right? Like all these other, like Champion, right? Like how many other brands are out there doing it at the time, right? Like Shopko's got their own house brand at the time, right? Like whatever. And you're like, you know what? I can go do this, right? Like we can go launch an apparel brand that makes athletic apparel.
Yeah. The arrogance, right? Like to think you could.
I don't think
it's interesting, right? I'm glad you mentioned Champion. Right? Like, Champion was, for sure. I'm glad you mentioned Champion because they were the dominant company when I started. Like Nike and those guys hadn't even gotten into, the custom team sportswear market yet. They were 100% in retail. And so when I came in at Champion, made everything for the upper level. So for all the NBA, MLB, NFL, champion, dominated that scene. But then there were also companies like Russell, Wilson, Sports Bill, Sportsline. There's these other companies that a lot of people don't really know about. Our industry is really, it's weird. It's really niche. The shoe brands don't like our industry. They don't want to be in it. It's a pain in the butt for them to be in it. They just want to make their high margins off their stuff sold at retail or direct, or better, I guess, for them, direct, right? And so, yeah, I think for me, I think it was a little bit of, I was a rancher's son, and a rancher to me is the epitome of an entrepreneur, right? Like he knows exactly what he has to do to make money, or everything goes under, and you have to sell your product for more than everything it costs to make that product, basically. And so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think when I saw that opportunity, the one key factor was that nobody had tackle twill. Champion was doing it for the MLB and the NBA teams and such. Nobody had that, so I thought that was a really unique opportunity. And then the other side of it was all of these guys, because I'd experienced it, they were selling the product in the exact same way. So they would come in and sit with the high school coach, for example. They'd open up their book, and their books had styles in there, and each style had a price. And then, okay, but that's just for the blank. And then if you want to add this, then it's this. You need numbers, of course, on the uniform. So then that's an extra $5 per number. Do you want one color or two? Because if it's two colors, then that's $7. It was such a whole arduous process, and nobody liked doing it. So I thought it'd be really cool if you could come up with a simplified form of that and just say, hey, coach, here's the price. Everything's included. Do whatever you want with it. Kind of like err on the margin of a little more expensive, because you're probably going to do a little bit more for on the product. But yeah, that was the other. But then, honestly, and it still is true today. And we mentioned at the very first, it's just who you're surrounded with. I think as an entrepreneur in the beginning, you're kind of alone, and it is lonely, and you have only you to turn to. But as soon as you can get someone else in there, and so little by little along the way, like in the beginning, I met this guy, Brent Hekakia, and he was an athletic director. I was doing this was right before I decided not to go to med school. So we had moved up to Salt Lake, and I was like, I'm going to do this one last tour through Nevada, make some money off my product, and then we'll head into school. And so he was an athletic director in Beatty High School, which is in the middle of nowhere, by the way. It's like, it's worse than Alamo. Alamo is in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful nowhere. If you're from Alamo, they know what I'm talking about. It's a gorgeous nowhere. It's a little green valley with hot springs and lakes, and it's a wonderful place. Out far away from it. Beatty's in the middle of nowhere. And he was out, and when I showed up, his wife goes, I said, where's Mr. Hekakia? And she goes, oh, he's out selling Beanie Babies. And I was like, selling what? She's like, Beanie Babies. They're really popular, and he buys them from this certain group, and then he resells them. I said, he's an athletic director, and he's out selling Beanie Babies on the side. But man, this dude needs to sell my product. And it was the first time I'd really started thinking that way. Like, to me, I was my own salesman. I had another partner, Joe Hillock, who really was the inspiration of it all, because the first set of uniforms I delivered to him was my first set of uniforms as well. And he just said, he got him, and he called me, and he's like, can I sell this product? This is amazing. And so that's what kind of opened my eyes that, wow, maybe I have something. Like, this really is something that's nice, But then with Brent Hekakia, and he came home, and he and I met, and just watching him attack sales in the way he did, he talked about being arrogant. He went to National Federation of High School Conference convention where all these massive companies are. He just puts his booth right in the middle of them, dominated with sales. I mean, everybody was like, whoa, who is this? Suddenly. But then, moving on through the years, and that one of my best friends from college, his name was Jared, and I asked him if he could build a website. And oh, by the way, do you want to come work with me? And like, he was like the first employee, and he was amazing. He's still the CIO today. And then, all the way down, I mean, Brent Lloyd, and Brent Lloyd has been part of ProLook forever. Just such a great advocate and fun. He's out running and doing it, and and always a positive attitude. And then Sam Clark.
Yep.
Right? No.
Yep.
Joe. So Sam runs in that same group, and he's our CFO, but brilliant. Brought this whole structure to our finances. All I was doing at the time was hiring an accountant wannabe from BYU. I wouldn't pay for the full accountant, just the wannabe. Someone good enough to do books well enough that I could pass it on to the tax attorney and not get in trouble. So, he came and brought this whole structure and vision to the finances, but, just constantly people coming into the business, and I could go on forever. My wife, like when she started working here as the CBO and over brand, like the vision of the brand and what it looks like and appears and tastes and feels like to everybody else, damn, we stepped up a level. Like all of a sudden we went from this tiny little, brand to a brand that's coveted, compelling. People wanted to wear it. It's cool. So again, this is in our industries, which is, high school club team, actual game wear. So products you wear on the court, on the ice, on the field, while you're playing the actual games. So, but yeah, no, I think it's just so important to surround yourself with those people, and how the joy it is to work with all of them too. You bring these people in and you learn so much from them. Yeah.
Absolutely. People are so valuable to any business, right? Like you talk
I don't know
about,
if my wife would call it a joy working with me. I do. I think she's wonderful to work with, but yeah,
no,
anyway.
that's
Yeah,
great.
no,
Yeah.
you're right.
No, great. Cause I couldn't have done Ultra by myself, right? Like I needed Brian and Golden and we needed Joe, right? Like those elements. Yeah. We fed off each other and it kept it going, right? But talk to us a little bit about, so you're studying biology. You're like, I'm going to be a doctor. That's what I'm doing, right? Like that's what you went to school for. That was the plan. That's how I'm going to get off the ranch. That's what I'm going to do. But then at what point, so you start doing this little apparel thing, right? Like you're working with the Philippines, you got these product, right? Like before you take that trip up to Salt Lake and decide we're moving on from this, like what was it that was like, okay, this is where my calling is. This is where my life needs to lead instead of being a doctor.
Yeah. That's a great question. First of all, I wasn't the smartest guy, right? And being a doctor, you gotta be damn smart. I always told my best friend Mitch that passed away, who was an orthopedic surgeon, I was like, man, I don't know if I would have had what it took to really go do all that. So kudos to those guys and all the dedication they have. And I don't want to take away anything from that. When I got up to Salt Lake, when Jane and I got up to Salt Lake, and yes, our whole 4 years of college, or my 4 years of college, was dedicated in, basically pre-med and wanting to do that, toying around with this other thing, playing football a little and stuff like that, but really like focused on being a doctor. We got Salt Lake and we'd had our first baby. My oldest is Kiana, and I think she's about 5 months, and I had an internship. And then I also was working at an ER as an ER tech. I'd been doing that for a few years. I was going, and just never saw her, never saw Kiana. But when I was with Kiana, it was like, like your baby and it's part of you. Yeah. And, like you can't put them down. Like it's just the most amazing, wonderful experience. And so I think in my head, it kind of started going like, dude, I got another 4 years of all of this. Then my, intern, like my residence, like all this stuff, like going through in my head, like what it's going to take. And I think that's when I started talking to like the doctors that I was working with. I was doing this internship at the time. It was olfactory sensitivity of zebrafish with this famous doctor from the University of Utah. Very lucky to get in with him, but talk about boring, talk about awful, right? Is that whole scenario. And then at the same time with the ER docs, and I was asking them, like, does it get better? Like, I never get to see and play with Kiana. Like, is it to a person? We're like, no, this is a sacrifice. You have to put a lot to it, which I respect, right? Because if you're going to be Michael Jordan, you give up everything, right? Yeah. You don't give up a little. Kobe talks about that thoroughly, right? Like how relentless he was. You sacrifice everything. Yep. And so, for them to be a good doctor, kudos to them, but they're sacrificing a lot. And so I think it was more that I went back. So we were living with Jane's mom and dad in Salt Lake City, and I was working up at the campus. And when I went back one night, it's toward the end of the summer and it's getting close to D-Day, right? Like, and I said to Jane, I don't think I want to do this. And, poor girl, because I can, you remember like how fragile life is. Like, you don't know what you're going to do. And okay, we have a little direction and hopefully things work out in our favor and we can accomplish this, because if not, what are we going to do? We're going to go over here and sell such and such or become, and she just goes, what Are you kidding me? You studied your whole, like, this is what we came here for. This is what we went to college for. And I was like, and I'm thinking her dad's going to kill me. I was like, no, I don't want that. I said, I never get to see Kiana. And I went through my reasons, and she goes, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, that's it. Let's pivot. Let's see what are we going to do then? I was like, well, I was thinking about paramedics, and while I kind of grow this business, and, we just immediately kind of moved on. So it wasn't really, I don't know, it was more of a decision of family first, I think, for me. And again, I'm not trying to, nothing toward doctors about that, because they get plenty of time with their families now, and how much of a blessing are they on all of us, and what they do. But I think for me, I was just very selfish and wanted time with Kiana, wanted time with Jane. So yeah, that's what kind of pulled us that direction. And then as soon as I made that decision, I mean, I know you felt this too, but then it was like someone's holding a match underneath you, a fire underneath you, like, you better freaking go, because somehow you got to pay for the family now, right? So yeah, so I got a job with a buddy of mine. I thought at the time I didn't know how to sell. I'd been on a mission, so of course I knew how to sell. If you can sell that, you can sell pretty much anything, right? And I'm not disparaging. I'm just saying that's a hard sell. So, I thought I needed to learn how to sell. So I got a job with a company down here in Provo, Orem, and we sold what was called mentorships. It's like the ability to work with somebody in the business industry to help you in your business, your small business. I did that for a year, and that was really, really hard for me. I actually worked with the Gardner twins that started Bucked Up, and a whole bunch of good people. Got Bland at Trinont, and whole bunch of really, really amazing people. I learned to sell, and then meanwhile, I just tried to grab people wherever I could to sell my product out in the market. Yeah, that's how I just kind of sort of grew. I picked up this lady in Cincinnati, and I picked up this guy in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'd convince him I'd sell him some of my product, and then they'd go sell it. And meanwhile, I'm working with the factory, trying to build up this factory, because literally started just him in one room. Him and his wife would run finances, I guess, in the front, but just him in one room. And so, we're trying to build up. And then I'd go over to the Philippines. I'd be reading everything I could on manufacturing, because we didn't have anybody to really rely on. He knew how to make patterns. He knew how to sew. He knew how to cut, but really I didn't know anything about fabrics and trims and, applique. I like, there was so much part of this business that I had no clue about. And so I had to learn all of that. Meanwhile, grow a sales division. But little by little, it came through. We're in a good spot today.
No, that's great.
A shit ton of mistakes, huge mistakes. But and those, you kick yourself in the butt. But one of the questions you had on that list was, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? And I thought, I would not tell my 18-year-old self one thing, because he needs all those experiences to get to work. Like, if you didn't struggle and hit rock bottom and suffer. I mean, there was a point when the recession hit, and I thought, in 2008, and I thought, it's okay. It's just going to pass. I have a great product. Nobody's battling me in twill. Like, I can really dominate this. And meanwhile, we lost 3/4 of our sales, and then more. And suddenly it's like, whoa, is this going to end? I mean, talk about rock bottom. I had to go out and I got millions of dollars of loans from friends, which, by the way, kudos to friends that will give you millions of dollars when your business is doing this, right? And that they would trust you to pay that back. Granted, it was expensive as hell money. It was like 20-25% debt, interest rates. And so, but when I got that, luckily, since then, we've paid that all off. Yeah, no. Well, they knew how risky it was too.
Yeah, for sure.
My best friend from really good friend here locally, at Baker, that would give me, pieces of money, chunks of money, and be like, dude, this is important to me. Like, you're not going to lose it, right? And they knew the value of it. They probably could have charged more, and they didn't. So I'm super thankful to those friends, though, too. Yeah, I think that, if you're talking to your 18-year-old self, no, you want them to struggle and feel that pain, and that way they can make the better decisions when they're in the position to make good decisions.
Yeah, no, I think the struggle defines us, right? Like, it shapes us, it fortifies who we are and what we actually become, right? Without that struggle, we'd become as great as we are, right? Listening to your story, so I've got this book here by Adam Grant's latest book, Hidden Potential, right?
Love Adam Grant.
And I just the title speaks to your story, right? Like,
yeah,
who, like, coming out of the ranches, right? Like, you'd have never thought that you'd go on to run this big apparel business, right? And it's like,
just so we're clear, we're not a big apparel business. Like,
well,
you know, we've grown a lot. We're in a good position.
You guys aren't only in 5 high schools. Like, you're big enough.
Yeah.
But it's,
yeah,
but I think,
so.
and regardless
we're still
of the
going up
size,
against Nike and Adidas and all those guys that are behemoths,
sure,
and come in and just dominate with their brand and their retailing, and they have everywhere. You know, like, I still feel like the little guy going against them nonstop. You know, even though I feel like also we structured our business in a way that we have so many more opportunities and so much more value than any of them. If you put us head to head with any of them, we win. We win in every scenario. So I like that, but yeah, I'm definitely the little guy. Anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, compared to those guys, I believe it, right? Like, and that's okay. But I think as we look at whether we're going to start a little cookie business, an apparel business, a shoe company, or just become a tax accountant or whatever it is, right? Like, if we're going with where we feel like, and we intend to put our efforts, we feel like, okay, the universe has opened this opportunity for me, I'm going to go take it. We're unlocking that hidden potential, right? And becoming who we're designed to be. And yeah, we don't need to become Nike per se, right? We don't need to become a $1 trillion company like Apple, right? Like, but as we start to find that, okay, like, maybe I'm not meant to be a doctor, right? Or maybe I'm not meant to be whatever, right? Like, for me, it was, I'm not meant to be a financial advisor. Like, let's go and start a company and do this crazy thing, right? Like, but we unlock this hidden potential of, like, okay,
programmer,
this is what I'm,
software engineer.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like you started that way, right? Like, in that industry too, before you got into financial, like, because your dad and everything. So anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like, there are all of these things that we grow up thinking, right? Like, as a 10-year-old in elementary school, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like, no, very few 10-year-olds really know what they want to be, right? It's like, I either want to be a fireman, a police officer, or an NFL player, right? Or an NBA player. Like, that's the list, right? And it's like, and then there's what our parents want us to be, right? A doctor, a lawyer, right? Like, go get the seemingly safe job, right? Entrepreneurship is not safe job, right? But it's absolutely rewarding, because you get into this world where you lead a team, right? Like, you rattled off all of the people that you've had the opportunity to work with and that have grown up within your company and are doing great things themselves inside of your brand, and even those that are outside of it, right? Like, and how meaningful that is and impactful that is to you and your life and your opportunities, right? But if you don't start this thing, then you're telling me stories about a nurse that you had an interaction with, or another, like, I don't know, it's not the same, right? Like, it's not the same.
Not the same for me.
Yeah.
For others, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's the cool thing about life, right? Is, you know, I think about our tech team in the Philippines and how many amazing software engineers are there, UI, UX, the designers, or, you know, these dudes are doing basically what I did, but in their line of business, right? Like, they're succeeding on levels that unimaginable, which is equally just so cool. But yeah, for me, I think there was for sure, I wanted to do my own thing. Never wanted, I wanted to be in charge of my time, my health, all of that. So
awesome. So how, like, as a founder, as an owner of a company, how do you balance your time to be able to still do the things outside of your business that you want to do, your family, travel,
your
surf adventures with your boys?
Yeah. I'll give you the biggest hack. Well, number one, obviously, we've already talked about it thoroughly, but just having all people in spaces that I could leave and they take over and dominate. But the biggest hack is having amazing family members that are dedicated, passionate about the same thing that you're passionate about and dedicated about and work with you. I have convinced, cajoled every one of my children to work here. So I have my oldest, Kiana, as a creative director. Well, I told you already, my wife is a CBO. And just let me be clear, there's no pampering, right? Like maybe others will go, oh yeah, well it's that, but there's no pampering. My daughter, Mila, my second daughter, was fired. Sam fired her. She worked for Sam, and he was like, I'm just struggling with getting her here on time and getting the work, out of her. And I was like, Sam fire. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, like she needs to figure it out. And so, he fired her. Of course, I made sure there was a pathway to come back at some point because that's the hack to me. I work with every one of them. So Kiana's a creative director. Mila, my second daughter I told you about, when she decided not to go to school, she was like, I just want to get into manufacturing. I said, okay, let's send you to the Philippines. And so she lived in the Philippines for a year and a half as a production manager and figuring out how factories work. And then she opened up our new factory in Cambodia. We built it in January. She moved there in the summer, and her and another kid from here, the two of them with her as a manager, opened it up, hired all the people that was necessary, put the machines together, put the machines in line, brought in the inventory, stacked them, put it on an inventory software, literally did everything to get that factory, and then hired their replacements to get it going. So, that's the second. And then the third, my son, my only boy, he's in IT downstairs, and he was just so passionate about three things. Number one, passionate about music, band, and he's just just one of the most talented people I know. But secondly, he was passionate about tech, and he and I grew up gaming together, so it was like probably a little too much. I probably led him astray many a times, many a nights, didn't get him enough sleep. But the third thing he's passionate about was not working here. 100%, he was not going to work here. So he loved music, and he loved tech, and he would not work. So he was working as a barista for like $7 an hour, I think, or something like that, $7.50, and like happy. And, and I would kind of make little jabs, as light as, hey, do you love it? Oh, awesome. Do you love it every day? What about the days you got to open at 6 a.m.? What about the days you got to close? Just not planting this in his head, but getting him to work here. And when he started working here and he just took off, I'm huge on nepotism. I love it. All of my exec team, they all have children here. And I tell every one of them, just as I told my son or daughter, like, you have a big target on your back. You have to show everybody every day that you deserve to be here, because nobody thinks you deserve to be here. Everybody's going to say, oh, it's just because they're so-and-so. Oh, it's just, so every day you're going to have to go above and beyond and beat out expectations across the board. And I got to think through it. No, I have not had one bad experience. I have my COO has his wife and 2 kids that work here. They're all amazing. His wife works in product development. His son is working back in sales/sales ops, and then his daughter manages UI UX team downstairs. So and then my CIO has 2 kids here. One of them my son dates, but 2 kids here that works in UI UX, and then in finance. Sam, my CFO, has a daughter here who's amazing in UI UX. So yeah, I love nepotism. I think it can really work well. And I'm clear with all of them that if you don't perform, we will let you go. Like, it's that simple. It's not, I want you here because I think it's wonderful for all involved. And because I think you'll perform. And because if you're anything like your parents, you'll perform because your parents are amazing. But that's the biggest hack to me. And that's how I get to do everything. We have a group lunch squad with my family that every day at 11 o'clock, lunch squad says, where are we going to lunch? Or what are we doing for lunch? Are we going home? Are we doing and all of us together, my whole family, go do something. Like, love it. All day I'm with my family. So it's still the same as when I couldn't leave Kiana to go, to school. Like, it's still the exact same. I can't leave Kiana today. And now Kiana's got a grandbaby who's the most wonderful thing. So, gosh dang. So yeah, no, that's the biggest hack. But obviously having really people, I've gone out and I've pulled in people from our industry that I've really respected. I grabbed a lady that one of the few people that we allow to work remotely. She lives in Tulsa, and man, she came. So she was at Gap and Target, and then to Adidas and Nike. She was over the NBA project at Nike when they got the NBA, uniforms, and she just wants to live in Tulsa. Doesn't ever want to move out from Tulsa. So her options are limited. I am greatly thankful because she has taught us so much. I told her I never hired somebody that I didn't know I needed as badly as you. Like, I had no clue I needed, someone that much. We grabbed a guy from New Balance, who New Balance is one of our customers, a big customer of ours. We manufacture all their custom team apparel, as well as Riddell and a bunch of these big brands. So maybe back up, but not only do we have our own brand, ProLook, that we're growing organically and pushing, scaling, but we also manufacture for a bunch of other brands as well.
Right.
But I grabbed a guy from New Balance that's come in and just kicked butt. Like, the guy is so good. He's in the Philippines right now with our tech team, and they're building a product customizer. This will be our 4th edition, I think, of a product customizer. We're the best in the industry at it. So we can use it for our product, which gives us a huge tech advantage over anybody else, because we make it easier for everybody to buy the product and, spend time doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is coaching and doing other things instead of wasting time trying to design it out and doing all that stuff. But yeah, I brought him in. I brought in a guy from BSN that has come in just in a fury, like, just
It's awesome.
making changes. And yeah, so it's constantly like, it's a mixture, right? It's like all of like family and people from local that we teach and we grow them in the business, but then also these really strong talents from outside. And that's what gives us time and gives me time to go. Last week, going and go surfing, like, I know I'm in good hands. I could stay away. I couldn't, because my brain can't do that, but I could, realistically, I could stay away, and they would kill it. The business would kill it. I get set up in a way that, like, yeah, anyway. So, but that's it. Sorry. That was a real long answer to that question, but
that's great, right? Like, the power of people.
Blessing is working with your family.
Yeah, that's awesome. So having your family there in the workplace, and then the power of surrounding yourself with great people that you can delegate to.
I do have one more.
Yeah.
I do have one more daughter. She's 18, and she's passionate about not working here as well. But she's going to be heading to fashion school. And I'm hoping, if she does not start her own brand, that she comes back here as well, because she would be a tremendous asset.
Where's she going?
She decided right now, probably Fit in New York. So Fashion Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
But she loves New York. Doesn't love the Yankees, thankfully.
Surprisingly, Salt Lake Community College has a great program. So
yeah, she's heavily interested in Slick. And
yeah, my daughter's doing that program right now.
Right now to get their fashion degree. Who is?
My daughter.
Who is?
My oldest daughter is doing that program right now. Yeah.
I wonder if she knows Nicole, who from our office, Nicole Olaski, that's going there right now for it too.
Maybe.
So yeah, actually it's the only fashion program in the state of Utah.
Yeah,
right.
It is. Yeah,
and it is very good. Yeah, I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, the gal that runs the program, I don't know if she taught at Fit but she came from New York, right? And I think she's from here, has ties to here, and because there was no program here, she wanted to start up something that was like to that caliber. And so yeah,
I need to write.
So they do.
You know her name?
No, I don't. I'd have to ask my daughter and find out. But...
All right, I'll find out. I would love to help out, and if we can.
Yeah, that'd be a rad little place to do some stuff. Black Diamond's been involved with their program a little bit on some footwear stuff. So she got to go present shoes to Black Diamond a month or so ago. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
yeah, experience.
It's a fun little program. All right. So as we wrap here, let me run you through some rapid fire questions. So yeah, feel free to take as long or as short on these answers as you want.
Oh, okay. I thought I had one word answers.
No, you can. I'll fire through them. You can answer them at your leisure here. How do you respond to failure?
I'm the best reframer there is. So when I fail, I pivot quickly. I figure out why that was a good thing, and we move on. I'm really good at reframing. When the Red Sox lose a game, immediately I will tell myself that was because of this, and it's a good thing. It's going to help us, next year or whatever. Like, loving the Red Sox has helped me be really good at reframing. I'm the best reframer ever. I will twist that to a positive like that.
There you go. Awesome. What frightens you?
No, business, nothing. Losing a child, like that frightens me.
That's fair.
Things that are outside of my control.
Yeah.
Nothing else really.
Yeah. What inspires you?
I think it's what we talked about. It's, you have your goals, you have everything you're trying to accomplish, and you reverse engineer it back, and getting to that spot inspires me. I love competition. I love team competition. If there's one thing I could do nonstop, it'd be like, playing game. My family, we get around, we play Catan nonstop, or like card games, or, just stupid pickleball, like whatever we can do, we play. That inspires me. And and then you push that into our goals, and like accomplishing those, especially the big ones, like that motivates me, inspires me like nothing else.
So not on the list, but you brought it up a couple of times. So I'm going to ask so walk me through your goal setting process. What does that look like?
Yeah. So it's that big, that BHAG or what's some of the other words that people use for it, but so there's different compartments, right? So there's spiritual, physical, mental, financial, there's all those different compartments. And then at the top of each of those, where do I want to be, and where do I want my kids to be, where do I want our family to be, where do I want the business to be, and then setting up and putting. I'm big on routines. I have routines all across the board. I write it down. I use Apple's what's it called? Not notes, reminders. Like,
oh yeah,
heavily
Apple
we
reminders,
use here at the office. Yeah, here at the office we use Monday.com for the business side of it, but just keeping track. Thorough track. So setting those big audacious goals, breaking them down into small bites, and then just, tracking all along the way what projects have to be done in order to get those. Like we're super anal about all that stuff as a family and as a business.
On reminders, do you create different groups, and do you section it out and customize it all out that way?
Different groups. Yeah.
Okay.
And I go through them every day, every morning. So when I get into the office, so I have what we call here at the company, we call a wow. And it was one of our mottos from actually 2016. Show you. We have all our mottos on the board over here.
Yeah, love it.
Annual mottos. So every year we have mottos, but basically the last one is make sure there's 3 things that you write down you have to accomplish that day. As long as you get those done, you won, right? You won the day. Anything above that is cream. And it just pushes you closer to the goals. So I have one of my reminders. It's a wow. And it's all the things like set up the first 3 that I got to get done. And then after that, and it could be business or personal. For me, I'm locked in on both at the same time. Like I said, my family's here and everything. So, but then I also have short-term, long-term, personal now, like honeydews, like stuff like that. I have that as one. So I'm going through all of them, kind of arranging my calendar in the day. And yeah, I love reminders. I'll set the timer, I'll set it to alarm. Actually, you can't really have it set an alarm off. So I have to do that with the actual alarm. So I'll say, remind me at 3 or set an alarm for 3:13 haircut or whatever, I'll use that nonstop to make sure. I'm not big on assistants. I know a lot of others really like assistants. I like doing my own. I like planning everything myself. I'm sure I'll get there, but I'm not there yet.
It's all right. No, that's great. I've used reminders a little bit. Well, I use it all the time, but I've never really been good. Like I've gone through and created the Covey 4 quadrants on my reminders, and then I just don't organize it. And then I'm just like, whatever. And so then I just have a running list, and it's not the most proficient.
As long as you're looking at them daily or, often, but you're looking at them, remind yourself, then you can jump on one. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. This month I did something a little bit different just this last weekend.
What'd you do?
So I wrote out 6 or 7 different categories of things that I wanted to focus on for this week and this month. And then within each of those, I assigned myself 1 to 2, some of them 3 tasks to do by the end of this week and then by the end of this month. And then I just put it as a pinned note in my notes on my Apple Notes. And so it sits there. And so every day I just look at it and I can see, okay, these are the highest priority things that I need to accomplish.
Yeah. That's your wow.
And then the other things throughout, that's my wow, right? But then the other things just throughout the day, right, that I need to do, right? Like this morning I designed a business card for myself, right? I just threw that into reminders. And then I used an app called Structured, which lets me just kind of categorize my routine and all the different things. And it brings in my calendar, it brings in my reminders. And so then I can time block out my day and say, okay, here are the time blocks that I have available. So
Dude, I love that.
but no,
I just got to execute.
No, yeah, exactly. And so I actually,
the plan is,
yeah. And execution is another tough thing, right? And so I actually have a friend that I'm being his accountability partner, and he's supposed to be mine. I'm much better at being an accountability partner to him than he is being to me. So I'm trying to hold him accountable to be my accountability partner.
Yeah.
But it actually has me being more accountable to myself because I'm holding him accountable to what he needs to do, right? Like he was supposed to get me his goals for this month by yesterday. He didn't send them to me yet. So I sent him a video this morning. I was like,
the air.
So Spencer Taggart needs to get his goals to me.
You're a day behind, Spencer.
So yeah, I told him last night, I said, I expect to wake up in the morning and have them in my email inbox. And they weren't there this morning. So I sent him a video this morning. And he's on Hawaii time. So he texted me while we were on this call. He just got up. But so yeah.
That was bad planning on his part. He knew he was going to be in Hawaii and he set a deadline.
No, he lives in Hawaii. He lives in Hawaii.
Oh, he lives?
Yeah. So he's always on Hawaii time.
Yeah.
So
chill, bro.
Exactly. So I might get it in like a few days because it's still like, it's Hawaii time. Everything's a little slower on the island.
Got you. No, I love that. That's thorough planning, and it's backups to backups, and it's accountability. Like you got it all planned out.
Yeah, because I've struggled with setting goals, right? Like, and I posted this on LinkedIn the other day, and it just like goal setting. I have a love-hate relationship with it, right? So I'm always looking at, okay, what are the hacks? What are the things that I can do to actually like achieve the goals, right? Like, because it's one thing to set the goal, that's great, right? And we might mentally have the goal, but then we've got to write it down. And then once it's written down, I need to review it daily. And then, okay, now to execute on it, what's the next step? And for me, it's like, okay, I probably just need somebody to hold me accountable. Like, follow up with me, make sure I'm getting my crap done, right? Like, so that it gets done. Because obviously I've achieved a lot of goals over the course of my life, so I'm not a failure at setting and achieving goals, but it's like, I think we all go through those routines of like, okay, I'm dreaming, I'm setting these, like, I want to do these things, but then sometimes they just fall by the wayside, and it's like, okay, what can I do to step up my game? So, yeah, I love your pattern.
Because that's constant. Yeah, I love that because that's it's constant introspection and holding yourself accountable, and always looking for blind spots, right? Like you just said, like although I've been successful in A, B, C, it doesn't mean I'm going to be successful in, D, E, F. Pushing. I actually owe that. I think that I owe that to the Mormon culture that I grew up in. I think that was a big thing, always striving for improvement, nonstop. Like you can do better. Like I love that whole thought.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so just a few more questions here. What book are you reading right now?
Shoe Dog, Phil Knight. So
okay.
we read a book a month in the company. Well, actually, I'm reading 2 books. I'm reading one of my own as well. But we read in the company. We have a book club, and we pick a book, and the whole company. Well, if you can, you read it. If you did read it, then we take you to eat at a nicer, like a PF Chang's or something like that for lunch. And we come back, and then everybody talks about it. I pick one moderator that says they read it, and they have to stand in the middle, or sit in the middle, and they kind of moderate the discussion.
I just joined the company book club. I just want to join the company book club.
Oh, dude, it's so good. So this year, it's been going on for we've been going on for like, well, I would say 12 years. And so we have these massive lists of all the books read. Yeah. But this year is our all-time favorites year. Okay. So the first book was Stephen R. Covey, of course, 7 Habits. What's the greatest book you've ever read? I mean, that's at the top. If it's not in the top, if it's not top one, it's in your top 5 of everybody that's read it. You talked about it on here, right?
Yeah, it's a great one.
So
Yeah.
that's number one. Then this month is Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, which, I mean, it's up your alley. It's up my alley. I mean, it's such a great book. You mentioned, I think, Sneaker Wars in one of your podcasts. I can't remember, talking about the Dasslers and Puma. You mentioned that a little bit in one of your. I like that book too. But Shoe Dog is just, after you get past the first chapter, like, it's just so. I just love it. I love that book. It inspires me. He inspires me.
It's fun. It's fun to hear. And it's really interesting, right? Like, we talked early on in this conversation about philosophy, right? Like, and you look at guys like Steve Jobs and Phil Knight. They both had kind of spiritual or philosophical awakenings prior to or at the start of their careers, right? Like, and I love how Phil kind of shares his experience traveling Asia and going through that, being in the temples and kind of going through that experience, right? And how rich and just powerful that was, right? So, yeah, Shoe Dog's a good book.
Evolution.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, nice. And then I'm reading on my own. I'm reading Never Enough.
Okay.
So
I haven't read that one. So
super interesting. It's from barista. The nickname is From Barista to Billionaire, and it's this guy's story of how he literally went from barista to billionaire. And fascinating book. It's not too big, so it's it's doable within a short time period.
Okay, it's on the list now. I'll add that to the list. I'll read that one next.
It's good. You'll love it.
Cool. Okay, what book have you read in the past 12 to 18 months that you'd highly recommend to others?
Oh, gosh. Geez, I'd have to pull it up. I mean, one sec. Let me pull it up and look. There's a book I'm thinking of that really influenced me. Book review.
So when you read, are you a note taker while you read? Do you keep notes from what you're?
Yeah, I got all my notes. These are the books that I've been reading, and these are the notes. Like each note is a full list of what I took from it. I do everything on the. I mean, you talked about with your software that you're using. How amazing is it? We have software that we can keep track of all this stuff. Like oh, look, here's Hidden Potential right there too.
Oh, there
you
go.
mentioned that. That was a fantastic book. I love that book. I'm going to say probably 4 Disciplines of Execution. I love that book for me. It drove me in, and I think that's one of the fascinating things about books is it kind of depends where you are in life and what you're doing at that time. If the book really does a lot for you, it doesn't. That Radical Candor was a really good book. Gosh, I don't know. Tilt. Those are my faves, but I don't know if they'd be yours.
Oh, that's great. I have not read either of those, so I will add those to the list as well. But I'm finishing up a book right now.
Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, like all those guys. Those guys are fantastic too. I love all their stuff.
Yeah. Simon Sinek's another one that I really enjoy. Infinite Game and
love Simon Sinek. My wife loves his stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate your time. If people want to keep up with you or connect with you, Dusty, where can they do it? You're like, I'm so focused on family and business. I don't really.
But I'm pretty private. Yeah, I'm pretty private.
That's
you
fair.
Can follow Prolic, Instagram, Facebook, Prolic everywhere. Prolic Sports. Would love to have you follow Prolic and be a part of that community. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of time for social media and stuff, so I don't. Right. I'm like 100% business and family, and that's about it. So
it's okay. Sometimes it's better to live life than to share life, right? So yeah.
I love living life, man. That's everything.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Again, bit of curiosity.
Hey, respect the hell out of you, Jeremy.
Hey,
I'm serious. Like, I love what you did. Every time I walk into a shoe store and I see Ultra, I think of you 3 and like just at 4 with Joe as well. Like, I just love everything about what you guys have done. And that's not it. Like stuff like this and bringing awareness to different things. I just love everything that's going on. So kudos.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. So thank you all. And if you found benefit, please like, subscribe, share this. Like, we'd love to get this word out. So thanks again.